everyone, I'm Allison.
I'm Bryce,
and we're Better Half Reviews. And today we're talking about Regicide, the card game. This is designed by Paul Abrahams, Luke Badger, and Andy Richdale, and the art is by DJ Phillips, aka Sketch Goblin, and it's published by Badgers from Mars and the Gaming Goat.
That's a lot.
Yeah, a little bit.
But anyways, grab your torches and pitchforks, because we're going to go commit some regicide.
Well, alright, let's check it out. To get started with your game of Regicide, you need to separate the jacks, queens, and kings, because this will make up your castle deck. The rest of the cards will be the tavern deck. Shuffle it up, and in a 2-player game, you'll get 7 cards each. And so to get these ready, you shuffle up the kings, leave them face down, and the same thing for the queens and the jacks. And this will be the castle deck of who we are fighting. You go through the cards one by one, defeating them as you go. There are Jester cards, but in a 2-player game you will not be using these. We'll talk about these later. So in this game you're going to be battling. You take a turn and then the castle deck will go and attack whoever just went, and then the next player can go. There's a little reference card showing you the attack and the health for the jacks, queens, and kings. On the back, it talks about the abilities that your cards have, and the abilities are the different suits. So when you're going to play, you can play generally just one card. So if I were to play an 8, that would mean that I'm doing an attack of 8 against the jack. And the jack has a health of 20, so that would take him down to 12 health. And then he would attack me back. But we do have the suits that give us abilities. So you do the attack, and then you do the ability. So the heal, which is the heart, is you can take cards from the discard pile and put them back into your deck. At this point in time, we don't have any cards there, but just for reference. If I were to play a spade, this one would let me reduce the enemy attack, so I would do 5 damage against him, which would be leaving him at 15 health. And then it reduces his attack by the same number. So when he attacks me, he doesn't attack me with a 10. He attacks me with 5 minus 10. So I would only receive 5 damage. We'll talk about receiving damage in just a moment. If I were to play a diamonds, again, the 4 is just the attack. And then the diamond ability lets me draw from the deck this many cards up to my hand limit. And this is also shared around with the rest of the players. So I would draw a card, and then my teammate would be able to draw a card back and forth until we have our hands filled or till we get to that number. So I only would have 1 card because I've only played 1 card, so I'm at my limit of 7. Something I may not have mentioned yet, which you need to know, is whatever suit is showing on your current attacker, that suit power is not available. So when we drew the cards for the extra for that suit power, I wouldn't be able to do that during that round. If I were to play the clubs, that ability lets me do double damage. So it would multiply this number by 2, so it would be 16 damage against the jack, leaving him with only 4 health. So now that we've talked about all the suit powers, let's talk about receiving damage. So after I take my turn, if the jack is not defeated, he will attack me. So a jack has an attack of 10. I don't have any way to block it currently, so I have to use my cards to block the damage. So I can use any of my cards and try to get up to 10. So if I trade in my 8 and my 2, that would account for the 10 damage. And I would discard them. If you can't get exactly 10, it's fine if you go over 10, but you don't get change back for that. And then it would move on to the next player's turn. So if we're at this point of the game, the jack has 8 damage, so it only has 12 damage left. Now it's this player's turn. So my card that I'll play, I have an 8, and this is with the spades, which gives me the ability to reduce enemy attack. So I did the spade, and that reduces my enemy attack, and now, so they've taken a total of 16 damage. They have 4 health left, and now it's their turn to attack since they are not killed. But this is reduce the damage by 8, so their attack of 10 is actually reduced down to 2. So I will discard a 2. Now it's back to my turn. I'm getting kind of low on my cards, so that's something you need to watch out for, because if you run out of cards and you can't deflect an attack, the game is over. I'm going to go ahead and play this 4. Now let's check for damage. So this has a total of 20, and the Jack's health is 20. He is defeated. If you get exactly 20, he'll go on top of the deck. These are discarded. And you flip over the next attacker. And now this round, the clubs is showing, so we will not have the ability to deal double damage. If you do defeat a Jack and not exactly on, he just goes into the discard pile rather than on top of the tavern deck. So let's talk about some other special instances of when you can play more than one card. If you have an animal companion, aka the aces, you can pair them with another card. So we could pair it with this to deal 11 damage at once, and you get to use both abilities from the suits. So that's a way to deal extra damage and get extra bonuses with the suits. Another combo you can do is if you have the same numbers, you can combine them, as long as they don't go over 10, and do the same thing. You would deal 6 damage total and use both these suit powers. However, since we have the Jack of Clubs here, this power would not be available during this round. You can pair it with 2, 3, and 4 cards if you want, as long as the total doesn't go over 10. So the game gets harder and harder because once you get to the queens and the kings, their stats increase. So the queens have attack of 15, kings 20, queens have a health of 30, kings 40. You really have to plan out when you're going to be playing certain cards and how to help each other. You can't show each other your hands, but you can kind of talk about it generally and be like, oh no, save that card, I can help with this. So now let's talk about what the Jesters do. So if you're playing with 3 or 4 players, you do get Jester cards available. They have an attack value of 0, but they negate the superpower that is being blocked for that round. So by playing this, now we can play our clubs and do double damage. And when you play the Jester, you skip the steps of activating the suit power and dealing damage to the enemy in check to see if they're dead. Now, the Jester gets to pick who will play next. But again, players can't discuss what specific cards they have, but maybe they'd be like, oh, I wouldn't want to go next. Or this person would be like, yeah, I'd go next because they could do 18 damage next time. The Jester can also help retroactively. So if I had played this earlier, the double damage didn't happen, it would just be 3 damage. But if the Jester got played later on, that would change this and retroactivate it so that it would be 6 damage against the Jester. So Jesters can be extra powerful in this case, even though they have attack value of 0. So if you get to the point where you flip over your last king card, you've defeated all the jacks and queens, and then you defeat this king, you win the game of Regicide. Alright, so that's how you play the game. Let's talk about how we feel about it. Bryce, what are some of the pros?
We have never beat this game.
I have beat it.
No, you haven't.
With Carrie.
I thought you said you got farther, but you never fully beat it.
I thought we beat it once.
No, you said you got to the kings, but you never finished.
I swear I won this game once.
You beat the game once?
Yes. No. I'm like, no, I swear that we did it. Hold up. That's not how I did it. I feel like we beat it once.
No, I remember you said we got, because I commented like we almost got to the kings once. We had one more queen. It's like, oh, that's the farthest we've gotten. And you're like, well, Carrie and I got to the kings, but we lost. So.
Oh, okay, whatever. All right. I swear we won once.
We have never actually beat this game. We have
That's
lost every time. It's a pro in the fact that this is just a really challenging puzzle that you have to figure out, and we still haven't figured it out, at least a 2-player.
Yeah. So like you can make plans and like strategize with each other and try to figure it out, but you never know what card is going to be flipped over next. Well, I mean, when you get to like the fourth out of 4 cards, then you knew. But like, it's very interesting because like the powers that you have available, if that card is up, like a spades, then you can't use the spade power for that round. So you're like, oh, okay, we got a plan, and try to like survive till next round so we can use spades next time.
Or even worse, it's like, oh, I need to draw some cards. We need to really survive till the next round. And then they do a bunch of damage, and you're like, I have 1 card left. There's no way we're going to win.
Yeah, so it's like, despite all your planning, it could get to somebody where they're like, I'm not going to have enough cards. And you can realize that, and you're like, okay, how can we try to work around it? And then you just, you can't. So, yes, we've lost a lot, but we've still had a lot of fun with this. And I like how the co-op game works, where you're just kind of like talking with each other, but like you don't like say, I have a 7 and I have a 3. It's just a lot of fun, and you're trying to all help each other and work through the problem. And along with that, I like how the cards look. So the sketch goblin art is different than a lot of other art that I've seen, and I absolutely love the back of the cards too. So, I mean, it just looks like a cool little unique game, even though it's like a regular deck of cards.
Well, and that was going to be my con, so let's just jump into that. Is my first thought was, well, I have a deck of cards that can play this game already. I don't need to go out and buy this box. But honestly, this is what, about $14, $15?
Mm-hmm.
If you buy like a specialty deck of cards, you're going to spend, $15, $20, $30 on a specialty deck of cards.
$30?
You can.
Oh, dang.
You can spend easily like $50, $60 on some decks of cards.
What cards are you looking at?
Anyway, but you're spending the money on like a specialty deck of cards with a rule set to play a certain game.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use the cards as a normal deck if you wanted to.
That is true too. So yeah, like you can buy any deck of cards, but then you won't have the cool art. So one of my other cons is the reference card. It's double-sided. So on one side it shows like the health and the defense for the Jack, Queen, Kings that are fighting against you. And on the other side of it, it lists the abilities for each suit. I really wish that they were 2 separate cards. Like, I know there's not that much different information to remember for this game, but like my brain just has a hard time with it because I'm so used to like hearts, spades, etc. just being whatever, and so I'm always trying to remember like which one does which, and sometimes I'm just like need to remember, or I'm like, oh, how much health does the queen do or have, or how much defense, attack, whatever, and I'm so always like, flip it over. Wait, no, I need it on this side. It's just a simple thing, but I wish it was 2 separate cards so I could have them both out and not have to think. So I want my own convenience taken care of. That's my con for this.
And it gets bad sometimes. We're like on our 3rd queen, and she's like, "What's the health again for queens? How much do they attack?" And we're like, "We've already defeated 2 of them." Like, I get remember this.
I know, but like I get confused sometimes where I'm just like trying to keep the numbers straight, and once I like confuse something one time, I will forever not be able to remember it correctly, or always second guess myself. So that's just what happened with here. So I'm like, I just want to have both the cards separate so I can just look and be good and not have to like flip.
Fair enough.
But anyway, so Regicide, when we first got this game sent to us from TGG, I was like, yeah, let's just give it a try. I don't know anything about it. We tried it once, and I was like, what? I could not get into it. I think it was just an off night or something, and I left it alone for a while. I don't know how you felt about it, but I was just like, okay. And then our friend Carl from Purple Moose Plays, he put out a review about it, and we were messaging back and forth about it, and he's like, yeah, it's such a great game. You should try it again. And I'm like, I really should. They sent it to us to review, so we should try again. Like, I just didn't feel motivated to play it. And then we tried it again, and we had the rules click a little bit better because I guess we were less tired or something. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think the first time we played it, we got a little confused with some of the rules, and when some things happen, the rulebook is not great in that way. Like, especially around the Jack and what the Jack ability can do. So we were a little confused. I think the first time we played it.
But I think we're also just like super tired and not like it was just it just didn't stick. But so this game is one that I kind of judged a little bit too early, and I have had a lot of fun playing it with different player counts, and there is a solo mode that you can try out. And it's just fun to try despite almost always pretty much just losing. Alright, so those are our thoughts about Regicide. If this sounds like a fun game to you, definitely check it out. We'll put a link down below where you can buy this on TGG's website. There's 2 different colors to choose from. Pretty sure they're the same game. And it's lots of fun.
And if you're not following us on Instagram, I don't know what you're doing. But we played this live once or twice, at least. So you should go follow us there. You can see
Watch us fail miserably. Live. Well, we were live.
Yeah. But you can see, what's coming up, what we're playing currently, and get a little bit of a behind the scenes.
Alright, so yeah, check us out on Instagram and give us a like and a follow here on YouTube.
Almost forgot what platform we're on.
Yep.
But I'm Bryce.
I'm Allison.
And we're Better Half Reviews, trying to figure out what we're doing.
At least I know that we're better have reviews. Happy gaming.
Have fun.
Grab your torch and pitchforks for the ogres.
I'm Bryce, and we're Better Half Reviews.
Happy gaming is what I was gonna say. Are you waving with both hands? Is that why you're smiling?
No. That I give you bunny ears, and then I wave with the other hand.
Stop it.
Challenging and fun. Co-op
Interactive.
That's not a J?
No.
Okay. What?
Stop giving me ears.
I'm not.
You looked like an evil smile thing. You're like, I did things. What did you do instead?
I didn't do anything.
Okay, fine. I don't trust you anymore. And it's published by... I almost had it!
I'm Bryce, and we're
I'm
better.
than that. I'm so sorry. La 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 la. Thanks.
You're welcome.